There's a way to instantly get better results with women, whether you're single or in a relationship. What I'm going to teach you in this video is something that applies throughout your entire life and is going to help you for the rest of your life. And to help you understand it, I'll read out something that a member of my community recently posted, and he ended up sleeping with a woman, right? So, girl cancelled a date with me yesterday, gave excuses about rescheduling, was bummed because I thought she was so into me. But instead of sitting home wallowing on a Friday night, I forced myself to go out. Right, that's not the secret, to go out. And I'm censoring some parts here just in case the 1 in a billion chance that the girl watches this video. Not that she's probably ever going to watch it. 99% of the viewers of my videos are men. So not a lot of hot women by my picky standards, but one really stood out to me. I made some passing remarks to her, and what he said to her was just basic conversation. So the whole night is winding down, and there isn't another girl out of the 200 that I'm interested in. And I realized that those things I said to her earlier weren't a proper approach, right? They were bullshit, he said. And what do women want? Confidence. And he saw her sit down on a couch by herself and thought, this is it. And he said to himself, if you don't do this now, it'll be so ridiculous. So I walked right up, leaned over, and I said, and he said something along the lines of, hey, I keep noticing you around. I thought I'd come over and introduce myself, right? I'm Peter, what's your name? And Peter's not his name, by the way. I'm just making up a name for him. But he essentially said something like that, right? So that night back at my place, get this, fellas, she really appreciated that I approached her. That men usually aren't courageous enough or resort to apps, but that's still not the lesson, by the way. Of course, it was the way I did it too. The confidence. Though I didn't feel confident, I just sort of forced myself to act the part. Anyway, this is a reminder to everyone that women often like being approached if it's done well, if you can really bring the confidence and masculinity they crave. And that quality women aren't likely to throw themselves at you if you don't have some balls and make it clear that you're interested. So with this particular guy, he's tall, right? And a lot of guys think that if a guy's tall, women are just going to throw themselves at him because a guy being tall is attractive to women. But with this particular guy, he was just saying basic things to her and she wasn't going to throw herself at him, right? He had to do something else. There was something missing, which I'll explain in a second, that he did, which allowed him to get the result. So finally, he was saying here, lastly, the difference between me wallowing in rejection all night and having a great night with another date scheduled for tonight with her resulted from just making myself get out there and do the approach, even though I was so close to just sulking at home all night. We are often just one small act away from changing our night, our feelings, and our lives. So what's the lesson there, and how does that apply to a single guy and a guy in a relationship? The lesson is that it's not a case of just put yourself out there, right? Because that doesn't work. For example, if he saw her sitting on the couch, the sofa, and he walked over and he said, oh, hi, do you mind if I sit down here? He's not doing it right. He's putting himself out there. He's taking that next step, but he's not doing it in an attractive way. So what you actually need to do if you want to instantly get better results with women and you want to have better results for the rest of your life is to take the next step in an attractive way. So what was attractive about what he did is that he actually went over there and started the conversation in a confident way, but as he said, he wasn't 100% confident, but he was sort of pushing himself to feel confident and do it. And from the woman's perspective, that takes confidence, that takes courage. And one of the things he said in a comment reply here is that dozens of other single men there didn't do a proper approach on the cutest woman there after 2.5 hours really is a testament to that. So it's refreshing and attractive for women to actually be approached by a confident man who isn't afraid or seemingly isn't afraid, right? He didn't feel 100% confident. And he said, I really shouldn't have still had a chance after so much time hesitating, but the other guys hesitated more, right? So the thing is, women don't expect men to be perfect, right? If you have a conversation with a woman and you didn't follow through, she's not then saying, okay, well, you're judged as being insecure and unworthy and hopeless forever now, right? You've still got an opportunity with her, right? If she hasn't fully rejected you or anything like that, take the next step in an attractive way and she will start to feel attracted to you, right? And as this woman said, she appreciated that he actually came over and spoke to her because think about it from her perspective, right? She is a woman who, as he was saying, she's the cutest woman there, right? The best looking woman there. And in reality, pretty much every man in the venue would have sex with her if she opened up to it, right? If he had the chance, right? So if she goes around approaching and opening herself up to any guy, then she's going to be making guys who aren't confident feel confident now because she's come over and talked to them, or she's going to be interacting with guys who don't even really like her and are just going to have sex with her once or twice, or maybe get into a relationship with her for a couple of years, even though they don't really like her, and then they're eventually going to dump her, right? So she waits for a man to have the confidence and interest in her to come over and talk to her, and to actually do it in an attractive way, right? So, for example, not walking over saying, hi, do you mind if I sit down here? I noticed no one's sitting here. That's going to turn her off. But if the guy walks over and says, hey, I keep noticing you around here, and I thought I'd come over and introduce myself. I'm Dan. What's your name? And then he sits down next to her and has a conversation. She's going to see him as a confident, charming, charismatic man, and she's going to feel attracted to him, right? He's taking the next step in an attractive way. That's how you get better results with women. And there's another one I want to share with you here. I was recently talking to the members of my community, and one of the guys is 5'8" in terms of height. And he was thinking that it's a big problem. And he's in a country where the average height is a lot taller. It's a European country. And he is 5'8", and he looks around, he sees all these tall guys, and often women are taller than him. And I explained to him how to overcome that insecurity and get results. And he posted this just last night. He said, big win from last night. She approached me and asked me to buy her and her friend shots. Of course, I didn't. I flipped it around, and he ended up saying something to her to attract her in the moment. Right? He was able to handle himself in that moment and not feel insecure and not be tooled by those women, right? Not be used by them and say, oh yeah, I'll buy you shots. Like, geez, these girls have come over and talked to me, and they're pretty. I'll buy them shots. Hopefully I'll get a chance with them now. Instead, he flipped it around and he started making them feel attracted, and he focused on his girl and ended up getting her number. And when he texted her, he did something as well, which I told him that he needed to do because he was making the mistake. And that is, when he was getting a woman's number, he was texting her just in a neutral way. He was just saying something basic, but what you got to do is take the next step in an attractive way, right? So when he sent her the text, he said something attractive that got her laughing and smiling, and then she said yes to catching up with him for a date on her first text reply. You can send texts back and forth, no problem, 3, 4, 5, even 6 or 7 texts, no problem. But in many cases, you can get a woman saying yes to a date on the first, second, or third text. You can already get to the point if you're making her feel attracted with what you're texting her, right? It's about taking the next step in an attractive way. If a guy gets a woman's number and sends her something basic and just says, hey, you want to catch up for a drink, he will often get rejected because he's left out the most important thing of all, which is you've got to make the woman feel some attraction for you. That way, for example, if you got her number in person, she can be reminded of the fact that she feels attracted when she interacts with you. And she smiles, she feels that attraction, and she wants to see you. She wants to go on a date with you. She feels like going on a date with you is going to feel good, rather than her thinking, I don't really know about this, right? Should I go on a date with him? I'm not quite sure. I was feeling attracted to him when I met him at the cafe or at the shopping mall, at the bar, wherever it may be. But how's it going to be if we go on a date? What's the dynamic going to be like between us? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to feel good? But when you add in something that makes her feel attracted, then she remembers that, yes, okay, this guy makes me feel attracted. I feel good when I'm interacting with this guy. I want to go on a date with him. So this is where a lot of guys go wrong when they're single or in a relationship. They want better results with women or with the woman that they're in a relationship with, and they're trying to take that next step, but they're not doing it in an attractive way. With the first example, he's a tall guy and he was saying basic stuff, and he wouldn't have got anything at all, despite the fact that he is tall, if he didn't actually take the next step in an attractive way. And if he took the next step in an unattractive way, he wouldn't have got anything either. And in a relationship, a guy will want to get better results with his girlfriend or wife, right? He'll want her to love him more or respect him more or appreciate him more. And he's trying to take that next step to tell her about it, or he's trying to take that next step to be more impressive. But when he's trying really hard to impress her, she sees desperation. And when he's telling her how he wants her to be more appreciative, more this or that, she sees neediness. She sees confusion from him. She sees that he doesn't understand how to bring that side of her out. Because that side of her exists, and it likely existed at the start of the relationship, and it can exist again if he starts interacting with her in a way that makes her feel attraction and respect for him. But if he's interacting with her in a way that makes her feel like, yeah, he's insecure, he's needy, he's pleading with me, he's frustrated and confused, he doesn't get it, he doesn't know how to handle a woman, he doesn't know how to bring out the good side of a woman and bring out her girly, feminine, loving, warm, supportive, nurturing side. If he doesn't know how to bring that side of her out, then at a certain point in a relationship where she's not feeling attracted to him and she's not feeling like she's in love with him, she's usually not going to feel motivated to give him that side of herself because she's not feeling the way that she wants to feel. But if he takes the next step with her in an attractive way and he starts displaying traits that make her feel respect and attraction for him, then she starts to do it automatically. He doesn't even have to ask her. He doesn't have to ask her, show me more appreciation, show me more respect. She just starts doing it because she's like, oh, cool, right? This guy's a man. I'm feeling good. This is fun, right? I like the way that he's behaving now. And she just does it. And by the way, one important detail I forgot here with the guy who had the women say to buy them shots, right, is that she was young, beautiful, and taller than him. Right, so he had the problem of being 5'8" and not being able to feel confident and worthy around women who were beautiful and taller than him, but then he did it. And it's the same thing that happened with me when I was single. I've settled down now, but when I went out and was trying to interact with women to get myself a girlfriend, I wasn't doing it in the right way. I was taking the next step of, all right, I'm going to go up and talk to these women, but I was nervous and insecure, so they weren't interested. But when I figured out how to be confident, when I figured out how to make women feel attracted, suddenly they were attracted to me. I was taking the next step in an attractive way. So I started getting results, and that continued. It just gets better and better because you get better at doing it. You become more confident, you become more competent, and it just gets better and better. And then when you're in a relationship, you know how to make a woman feel attracted. So it doesn't get to the point where the attraction dies out and you don't know how to handle your woman anymore. You don't know how to make her want you. It's something that you understand now. It's not something that you're guessing out and like, oh, well, I hope I can get this girl to like me when I'm single, and I hope that if I do the dishes or something, then my girlfriend or wife is going to want me. Or I hope, if I do my hair in a certain way or get a better shirt, she's going to like me. That's not going to work. You've got to understand what actually triggers attraction inside of women and get used to doing that. And the things that trigger attraction inside of women are of benefit to you, right? It's much more beneficial for you to be confident rather than insecure. It's much more beneficial for you as a man in life to be assertive when you need to be rather than being passive and letting people just walk all over you and just waiting for things to happen and hoping that everyone just hands things to you, right? It's much better to be assertive when you need to be and assert yourself and say what needs to be said or do what needs to be done and get results rather than hoping that everyone's just going to do everything for you or be nice to you, which is not how the world works, right? In many cases, you've got to assert yourself. All of the non-physical traits that women are looking for in you make women feel more attracted to you and make men respect you more, right? Men respect men who are confident rather than insecure, right? Who believe in themselves rather than doubting themselves, who are assertive rather than passive, who have social intelligence rather than being socially awkward, right? And being wet behind the ears and not understanding how people operate. A man who can handle himself in a social interaction, right, and not be picked on and so on, is a man who's going to be more respected. And women find those things important because you're going to be a woman's potential leader and protector, right? She needs to see that you're able to handle yourself as a man. And the thing is, because men aren't wired to place a lot of importance on a woman's confidence, for example, they'll often feel like, well, why do women place so much importance on that? Why can't they just like me because I'm a nice guy and I've got good intentions? I'll treat her well. Sure, I'm nervous around her, I'm insecure, but who cares? I'm going to treat her well. But women are wired to feel naturally attracted to emotional strength and wired to feel turned off by emotional weakness. But most men will feel the same amount of attraction for a woman, whether she's confident or insecure or shy, yeah, whatever. She looks good, fantastic, right? And some guys don't want a shy woman because they feel like she's going to be a burden. But men like that are men who have standards, right? I don't want a shy woman who's going to slow me down and isn't going to be a useful girlfriend or wife when I'm going through life. And she's not going to be able to talk to people and help manage situations and so on. I want a woman who's more confident. Great. That guy has standards. But from a pure attraction perspective, when a man initially sees a woman, he looks at her physical appearance, it doesn't really matter if she's confident or shy or insecure, whatever. Yep, she's got nice boobs, she looks good, she's pretty, yeah, okay, I'll have sex with her. But women don't operate in the same way, and it's very important as a man that you understand that. So if you want to get better results with women right now and for the rest of your life, just remember to take the next step with a woman, but do it in an attractive way, right? Don't be waiting around hoping that she throws herself at you, and don't just take a next step and hope that she goes easy on you, right? Take the next step in a confident way. Take the next step in a charming way or a charismatic way, or take the next step by asserting yourself in the situation, by asserting where you want the conversation to go, asserting yourself in terms of what you want to talk about, what you want to ask her, what you want to suggest, rather than just being passive. When you're taking the next step in that way, you're being attractive, you're doing it right. And you just need to keep taking that next step in an attractive way, and you then get the result. But if you don't take the next step, you usually don't get anything, right? As the example of this member who is tall, just because he's tall, it doesn't mean that he's going to get a result, right? It doesn't mean that he's going to start talking to a woman and she's going to throw herself at him. He had to take that next step. And if he took the next step in an unattractive way, he almost certainly would not have gotten a result. Right? If he was insecure and doubting himself, she would have most likely said, sorry, I have a boyfriend, or sorry, I don't give out my number. Something like that to softly reject him. Right? Because she's not looking for emotional weakness. She's looking for emotional strength. And even though this particular member wasn't 100% confident in that moment, he was still more confident than all the other guys who liked her in that environment and would have been checking her out and wishing that they could get with her, but then they didn't make a move. Or if they did make a move and try to talk to her, they didn't make her feel attracted, or they didn't follow through. They didn't take that next step and make something happen. And with this particular member, he got her back to his place that night, and he most likely did that in an attractive way as well, right? He got the result. So if you haven't been getting the type of results that you want with women, just understand that it's not your fate. It doesn't mean that you're doomed with women and you can never get better results. You can. And in many cases, like this member said here, we're often just one small act away from changing our night, our feelings, and our lives. And another way that I would say that is that you're often just one attempt away from getting a result, right? In this case, he had attempted to get a date and the girl canceled a date on him. And rather than giving up, he made an attempt. He's like, all right, I'm going to get out there and go somewhere. And he talked to the woman and he said something basic to her. That was his attempt. He talked to her again. He said something basic. And then he realized, hang on a second, I wasn't actually being attractive there. Let's do this right. And he made another attempt and ended up taking her back to his place. So just understand that you're not doomed. It's not your fate to fail with women, to get bad results with women, whether you're single or in a relationship. Just understand that you'll instantly start getting better results with women when you take the next step in an attractive way.